Ever find yourself kind of freezing up when something unexpected happens?
Oh, absolutely, especially when it comes to, like, medical emergencies, right?
Exactly. It's like brain just goes blank. So today we're tackling that head on. We're doing a deep dive on what to do when someone's having a seizure.
Super important stuff, and, it's more common than people think.
Seriously. And here's a little confession. I used to think you were supposed to put something in their mouth, like a wallet or something.
Oh, yeah, that's an old myth. Thankfully, people are starting to realize how dangerous that is.
Yeah, talk about making a bad situation worse, right?
No kidding. Sticking anything in their mouth during a seizure is a huge risk. You could hurt their teeth, their jaw, or even block their airway entirely.
Okay, so definitely not that. But then what do you actually do?
Well, to understand the why behind the actions, it helps to know what's happening in the brain during a seizure. It's basically like a sudden electrical storm up there.
An electrical storm. Wow.
Yeah, and that surge of electrical activity, that's what's causing those physical symptoms we see.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say, worst case scenario, I see someone having a seizure. What are those crucial first steps?
First and foremost, safety. If they're not already on the ground, try to gently ease them down.
So they don't fall and hurt themselves, right?
Exactly. Now, this next part is super important for their breathing. Gently turn them onto their side.
Wait, really? Why is that?
Turning them on their side helps keep their airway open so they can breathe easier. Plus, it lets saliva drain, which
Hmm.
reduces the risk of choking.
Oh, wow. I never even thought about that, but it makes so much sense.
It's all about minimizing those risks. And while they're on their side, you can make them a little more comfortable, Something soft under their head, maybe?
Like a jacket or a sweater.
Exactly. And while you're at it, quickly check if there's anything around their neck that could restrict breathing.
Right, like a tight collar or something.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Loosen it up if you can. Now, another thing that feels super important is time, right?
Yeah, time must feel so strange in those moments.
It really does. Timing the seizure is actually super important. Most seizures are pretty brief, only lasting a minute or two.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
would have thought they were much longer.
It can feel like forever, but if it goes for 5 minutes or longer, that's when you absolutely need to call 911.
5 minutes. Is there a particular reason for that?
Yeah, seizures lasting longer than 5 minutes can have a higher risk of complications.
Oh, wow.
The brain's basically working overtime, and there's a chance of what we call prolonged seizures, which can be even more dangerous.
Okay, so call 911 if it goes past 5 minutes.
Got it.
Got it. Now, let's switch gears a bit. What about things we should avoid doing during a seizure?
Right, so this one's huge. Never try to restrain someone having a seizure.
Really? I always thought holding them steady was the right thing to do.
I know it's a natural instinct, but restraining them can actually cause injury. It won't stop the seizure, and you could end up with a broken bone or worse.
Got it. So we've covered the do's and don'ts, but let's dive a little deeper into when to call 911.
Right, so it's always better to err on the side of caution. Definitely call 911 if it's their first seizure ever, if they have any trouble breathing, or if they have difficulty waking up after the seizure.
So if I'm even a little bit unsure, it's better to just call.
100%. It's also crucial to call 911 if one seizure happens right after another without the person regaining consciousness.
Okay, that makes sense. What about if they get injured during the seizure?
Another reason to call.
Hmm.
And definitely call if the seizure happens in water.
Oh, right, because of the risk of drowning.
Exactly. And here's another thing to keep in mind. Some people have what are called underlying health conditions, things like diabetes, heart disease, or if they're pregnant.
Right.
All of those can make seizures more complex, so that's always important information to share with the 911 operator.
Okay, so basically, if you know they have those conditions, it's a 911 call regardless.
You got it. It's always best to be safe.
This has been eye-opening. I feel so much more prepared now.
That's what we like to hear. Remember, staying calm and following those simple actions can make a world of difference.
So, you've officially leveled up your first aid knowledge, everyone. But here's a little something to think about, a final thought before we go. Imagine you're in a public place and someone has a seizure.
Oh, yeah.
How could you use what we've learned today to educate those around you, maybe even calm them down, and make sure that person gets the help they need? It's something to ponder because you never know when this knowledge might come in handy. Until next time.